Hi everyone, Jim Wright from Toro here. This segment is going to discuss the differences in replacing a nozzle on a Rainbird 751 versus the Toro, focusing on the advanced flexibilities and performance provided with the Toro sprinklers. So the things that we need to perform this demonstration, we have a Toro Infinity sprinkler and we have a Rainbird 751. Both of these are part circle sprinklers. The tools that are required to conduct the demonstration, we've got one of our 5/8" nut drivers for our main nozzle, a 5/16 nut driver for the inner and intermediate nozzles, a Phillips screwdriver, our multi-purpose pull-up tool, selector key for Toro to turn it manually on and off, selector key for Rainbird to turn it on and off, and then a riser hold-up tool. So we'll demonstrate using the Toro sprinkler first. And the first thing we like to do is when you walk up to a Toro sprinkler, you have the ability to lift up the sprinkler and place one of our selector tool or hold-up tools to keep the riser upright. That feature is not available on any of the Rainbird products. To get that product to pop up to where you can see the nozzles and do anything with them, you either have to turn it on using the manual control key or pull the riser completely out of the body, which we'll demonstrate in just a little bit. So some of the things with the Toro sprinkler that I want to point out, all of our products have some means of trajectory adjustment. That allows us to change the height of sprinkler spray and put water exactly where you want it to be. Very useful in high wind applications or where the sprinkler is throwing into low-hanging tree limbs and things like that. This allows me from the top while the sprinkler head is running to make that adjustment and see the effect of that adjustment. The other trajectory method that we offer on our products is what's called dual trajectory, and the dual trajectory capability is done by removing the cap, turning the nozzle holder 180 degrees, and now I just took that main nozzle from the standard 25 degrees down to a low angle of 15 degrees. Cap gets reinserted, and that will maintain the proper position of the trajectory setting. So all of the Toro sprinklers have one of two means of trajectory adjustment, either dual trajectory, that comes on all full circle sprinklers and this part circle, and then trajectory, which is a 24 position from 7-degree low to 30 degrees high, adjusted in increments of 1 degree. Each click that you hear is 1 degree of arc adjustment. There's 30 and there is 7. 1 degree increments. As you can see on the Rainbird sprinkler, there are no means of making any type of trajectory adjustment. They have had in the past a nozzle base that could replace the one that's on here to get a low angle, which means that you are buying another complete kit and then going to the extent of replacing the one that's on there with the new one. So much more costly and not very labor efficient. Okay, so with the Toro sprinklers, all of the nozzles are threaded in from the front. So simply with a nut driver, we can come in and we can replace, remove, clean out, do whatever we would need to do with a simple nut driver with the riser in the upright position. All of our nozzles are color-coded and have debris stream straighteners in here that are debris tolerant. So basically anything that can get through the riser screen that's on the bottom of the riser can pass through any of the openings above that. So there are no openings smaller than what we would have in the riser screen. Okay. We also offer on all of the part circles a series of back nozzle positions. And The front part of the watering arc is going to be the primary, but if you have some vegetation growing behind the sprinkler, to avoid having to put another row of sprinklers out there, we can remove the inner nozzle plug and replace it with any of the inner or intermediate nozzles that are going to throw water right out the back. Now, an inner nozzle in this position is going to throw about 25 feet and put good water close out to 25. Intermediate nozzles are going to throw up to 50 feet out, less water close to the head, more further out. So all of the part circles have back nozzle capability. On the trajectory version, there's a single point. On the dual trajectory, there are 2 points. So in this case, we can use an inner and an intermediate and get good water application from the sprinkler out to about 50 feet. Very versatile. One of the other things that we can do on the Toro sprinklers, let's say that you have a situation where this sprinkler is sitting in a depressed area. So it's coming down and this is sitting in a low-lying area. And this area is always wet. And it might be because it's low, it might be because we have a lot of overlap from adjoining sprinklers. You know, there's any number of reasons. All of the Toro sprinklers allow us to change the position of the inner nozzle. Again, we're putting water close to the sprinkler from the inner nozzle, out about 25 feet. So now we've taken this water that's real close and we've just moved it a little bit further out. That's going to allow the area around the sprinkler to dry out. The other benefit of this is in a, say a new greens build where it's all sand, where either they're seeding or they're putting down stolons. A lot of times the inner nozzle will push that seed, sand, and stolons away from the sprinkler so you don't get very good growth right around. We can move that water further out, preventing that push right around the sprinkler head. So a couple of nice benefits. With the Toro nozzles, we have 3 basic nozzles: the inner from 0 to 25 feet, intermediate from the sprinkler out about 50 feet, and then the main nozzle is going to cover the greatest distance of throw. So that's the Toro nozzle comparison. Now we'll look at the Rainbird 751 series sprinkler. So again, if I want to do anything with the nozzles on a Rainbird 751, I either have to turn this on manually, wasting water, and all I can do at that point is look at what nozzles are installed and the condition of those nozzles. If I want to get into the sprinkler, I now have to physically remove the riser assembly from the body, and we do that by removing the top snap ring and then by pulling the riser up out of the body. And with it up out of the body, now I have the ability to see the nozzles and see what condition they might be in. If you notice, all of the nozzles are in one individual module. So if I replace this, I have to replace all 3 nozzles at once. Remember, on the Toro sprinklers, I have 3 independent nozzles that allow me to individually replace those to put down the exact amount of water that I really need if I need to make some adjustments. Okay? So if I do want to replace the nozzle module that's in the Rainbird sprinkler, first thing I need is a Phillips screwdriver. You got to hold the spring down firmly. And then remove the entire nozzle base. Now the nozzle base consists of several different components. This is the Fullen part circle adjuster. So to get to the nozzle, this has to come out first. The 2 screws are going to be in the way, so we've got to move those out sufficiently to get the main nozzle out, or to get the nozzle module out, and then it pushes to the inside of the nozzle base. So again, as you can see, all three nozzles are combined into one module, so I cannot do any form of customization to put a little bit more water out into the intermediate area, or even change the main nozzle if I desired that. Okay, so that's the main nozzle. Now, in comparing the debris tolerance, if we look at some of the features that we have in the Rainbird sprinkler, you can see that the openings on the nozzle are very small and very intricate details. The stream straighteners, if you look in comparison to the screen, you'll see that a particle that can get through the openings in the screen can easily clog up between the stream straighteners and the nozzle. So once something gets into those nozzle stream straighteners, the nozzle is not going to perform very well. Okay. So that's what's required to replace a nozzle on the Rainbird 751. Now they do have a limited number of back nozzles, but again, if you did want to add the back nozzle, remember with the Toro, we're unscrewing one of the plugs and screwing it in from the front. No further disassembly required. On the Rainbird sprinkler, you basically have to take all of those items out first, and then this pushes out, and an inner nozzle in the back position can be installed. So significantly more difficult to do that. Okay. I want to point out one other thing while we have the sprinkler disassembled, relating to the drive assembly. And this is their part circle drive assembly. The shaft that goes down into the center here is the part that would make it full or part circle. In the relaxed position, it's in the part circle mode, so it's going back and forth. If selected, this gets pushed down and then it becomes full circle. Now the thing to point out with this is that this is a shaft going into a hole. This is full of water that's from the irrigation system. So if you're in a dirty water application, there is nothing that would prevent dirt and debris from getting between the shaft and down inside the drive assembly and potentially create a premature failure. And you got to remember to put that back in there if it happens to fall out while you're doing some of the disassembly. The other point to make, this is the lowest level of a service assembly for the drive assembly. So this is what you would have to buy if you needed to replace a drive assembly. On the equivalent Toro sprinkler, the disassembly required and the replacement drive assembly is that. In the United States, there is a 5 times cost difference between our drive assembly and the Rainbird. So you're paying 5 times more for the Rainbird drive assembly than you would be for the Toro. All right, so reassembly of the entire sprinkler. We're going to put the full and part circle shaft back into position. The stator and screen snap into the bottom of the riser. One other point, the stator is designed for the flow of a main nozzle module. If you change the main nozzle module, there also may be a requirement to change this stator. So some additional parts might be required, plus further disassembly. All right, the nozzle module, we'll put the inner nozzle back into place first, and it just pushes up inside. Then we take the main nozzle module and push it up inside, and then the full and part circle mechanism presses right down in. Now if you look at that, one of the things that this does, it's really right in front of the main nozzle flow, so that's going to affect performance of the sprinkler as well. You may not be able to get the distance required because that is disrupting the normal flow of water. Okay, so the nozzle assembly is assembled. We put the spring on, the retainer, push that down, hold it in place, don't let it go, it'll hit you in the face. And then this has to line up. We've got, this is the arc adjuster that lines up with this hole, and then we've got the full and part circle that lines up with a hole down inside there. So we're going to get those two items lined up, and you kind of push them down into place. And then the Phillips screwdriver. Oop. Okay. Then this is going to go back into the body assembly, and you have to determine left watering arc, right watering arc, so that you can position this back into the body correctly so that your left border is in the right spot. If it's not in the right spot, you're going to have to completely pull this back out, move this around to get another set of these ribs lined up with ribs into the body. And once that's in place, snap ring goes in, and we're all done. So a fair amount of complexity, time, much less efficient than the Toro offering. Thank you.